I had never heard of Pine Hollow Road before, not until Mrs. Carter called me. Her voice was shaky. She said she needed someone to watch her dog, Max, for 3 nights. She was leaving town for a funeral. She sounded desperate. I almost said no, but she offered double my normal rate. And I needed the money. The first time I saw the house, I slowed my car to a crawl. Tall, dark pines leaned in on both sides of the gravel driveway. The air felt still, too still. The house was old. White paint peeling, windows narrow and shadowed. Max barked from inside. A deep, muffled sound. Mrs. Carter met me at the door. She had tired eyes. Her hands trembled when she handed me the keys. "He's a good dog," she said softly. "But don't let him outside after dark." I laughed nervously. Thought she was joking. She didn't laugh back. Inside, the house smelled faintly of cedar and something else. A faint, metallic tang. Max was a big German shepherd, friendly, but alert. His ears twitched constantly, like he was listening to something far away. Mrs. Carter gave me quick instructions: food in the pantry, water bowl by the back door, and again, that strange warning. No matter what you hear, keep him inside. I wanted to ask why, but she was already stepping out. The screen door slammed. Her car rumbled down the driveway. Night came early under the trees. By 7:30, it was nearly pitch black outside. I sat on the couch with a book. Max lay at my feet. Every few minutes, his head would snap toward the window. Ears up, growl low in his throat. I tried to ignore it. Then, I heard it. A faint scratching at the back door. Slow, deliberate. Max stood instantly, hackles raised. A deep, rumbling growl poured from him. I froze. The scratching stopped. I crept to the kitchen. The back door had a small window. The glass was old, fogged with age. Something moved outside, just a shadow at first. Then, the shape of a hand, thin, pale. Pressing slowly against the glass, I stumbled back. Max barked so loud it shook my ribs. The hand slid out of sight. I locked the deadbolt, double-checked it, triple-checked. Max stayed at the door for hours, ears forward, muscles tense. When I finally went to bed, he followed me. He wouldn't sleep. Every sound outside made him growl. At 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps on the porch. Slow, heavy. They stopped right outside my bedroom window. I didn't breathe. A whisper came, right against the glass. "Max, Max." The voice was wrong. Too slow. Each syllable drawn out like the person was savoring the name. Max lunged at the window, barking like he wanted to tear the night apart. The whisper turned into laughter. Low, wet. Then it stopped. The next morning I found something strange. In the dirt by the porch, footprints. But they weren't human. Long, narrow, with too many toes. I thought about calling Mrs. Carter. But what would I say? Your backyard has a monster? I decided to stay alert. Night 2 was worse. The scratching came earlier. Max paced. Wouldn't eat. This time I heard more than one voice outside, whispering, circling the house. At one point, something scraped along the siding, like nails dragging slowly. I kept the lights on, every single one. Around midnight, I saw something through the front window. A figure, tall, thin, its head tilted too far to the side. It didn't move when Max barked, just stood there, watching. I backed away, turned my head for just a second. When I looked back, it was gone. By the 3rd night, I was counting the hours until Mrs. Carter came back. At 9 p.m., the power went out. The house sank into blackness. Max whined, pressed against my legs. Outside, movement, soft thuds, like something walking barefoot on the porch, then tapping on the glass. Every window, all at once. Tap, tap, tap. My chest tightened. I gripped the flashlight. Its beam shook in my hands. The tapping stopped. Silence. Then, that voice again, right at the door. Let him out. We just want to play. Max's teeth glistened in the beam of the flashlight. His growl was so deep it vibrated the floorboards. I didn't move, didn't speak. Minutes crawled by, and then, slowly, the footsteps retreated, back into the trees. When morning came, Mrs. Carter's car rolled up the driveway. I've never been so happy to see anyone. I told her what happened. She listened quietly. When I finished, she just sighed. "I told you not to let him out," she said softly. Then she handed me the money and closed the door in my face. As I walked to my car, I glanced back at the woods, in the shadows. Something was standing there, watching. The storm started earlier than the forecast said. By the time I reached the farmhouse, snow was already falling in thick sheets. Mrs. Miller met me at the door. She looked relieved, said she hadn't slept in days. Her golden retriever, Daisy, wagged her tail, but her eyes, they didn't leave the window. Mrs. Miller was leaving to care for her sister in another state. I would be alone here for 2 nights. "Stay inside," she told me, "especially after dark. The snow brings things closer." I smiled politely, but her tone wasn't joking, not even a little. By evening, the wind howled against the walls. The house creaked with every gust. I fed Daisy. She ate quickly, then returned to her spot at the window. She growled once, low and soft. I stepped beside her. The yard was a white blur, snow whipping sideways, but I saw something. A dark figure, standing still, half buried in the storm. I blinked, and it was gone. Told myself it was a tree, or my eyes playing tricks. Hours later, I woke to Daisy whining. She was pacing the hallway, ears back. Then, a sound from outside. A faint knock, slow, measured. It came from the side door, the one Mrs. Miller told me never to use. Daisy's body went rigid. She didn't bark. She just stared at the door, tail tucked tight. The knock came again, followed by a voice. "Let me in. It's cold." It was a man's voice, but wrong. The words dragged, like someone repeating sounds they didn't fully understand. I didn't move, didn't speak. The voice changed, quieter now, almost a whisper. "I'm hurt. Please." Daisy pressed against my legs, trembling, then scratching, fingers against the wood. The storm roared louder, but I swear I heard something breathing on the other side. When morning came, I checked the door. Snow piled high against it. No footprints, no sign anyone had been there. I tried to shake it off. Told myself isolation was getting to me. That night the power flickered. Once, twice, then died. The house sank into darkness. Daisy whimpered. And then, her head turned sharply toward the kitchen. I followed her gaze and froze. Through the frosted window, a face, pale, eyes too wide, mouth open in a smile that showed every tooth. It didn't move, didn't blink. The smile seemed to stretch, wider. I grabbed the flashlight, shined it toward the glass. The face was gone. I locked every door, every window, sat in the living room with Daisy pressed against me. The wind screamed outside. Then, the sound of footsteps on the roof, slow, deliberate. They crossed from one side of the house to the other, stopped above the kitchen. Snow shifted. Something heavy was crawling up there. I didn't sleep, just waited, listened. At some point, the footsteps came down, not on the porch, but along the walls, like something with claws was clinging to the siding, sliding toward the windows. Daisy growled deep in her throat. Her fur stood on end. When dawn finally broke, the sound stopped. The storm had passed. Mrs. Miller returned that afternoon. I told her everything. She just nodded slowly, her eyes heavy. "They get bold in the snow," she said quietly. Then, as I was leaving, she added, "Be grateful Daisy stayed inside. Once they get the dog to follow them out, you're next."
I'd dog sat for the Parkers before, but never overnight. This time they were flying to Florida. 5 days, just me and Buddy. Buddy was a big black lab, sweet, but jumpy. Mrs. Parker gave me the house tour again, food in the pantry, extra leashes by the door. Then she stopped at a door in the hallway. It had a heavy deadbolt. "Don't open the basement," she said. Her voice was flat, almost rehearsed. I asked why. She just looked at me. "Don't." The first night was quiet. Buddy slept at the foot of my bed. Around 2 a.m., I woke to his low growl. He was staring at the hallway. I listened. Nothing. Told myself it was the house settling. But Buddy didn't relax for hours. The second night I heard it too. A faint tapping, coming from the basement door. Buddy's ears went up. He stood, whining. The tapping grew louder, slow, rhythmic. Then, a voice. "Buddy?" It was so soft I almost thought I imagined it. But Buddy barked once. Sharp. The voice came again, this time lower, more drawn out. "Buddy!" He whined, scratched at the door, like he wanted to go down there. I grabbed his collar, dragged him back. My hands were shaking. The voice stopped. In the morning, I checked the door. The deadbolt was still locked, but the wood around the frame looked splintered, like something had been pushing from the other side. Night 3 was worse. The tapping started earlier, louder. Then a slow scraping sound, like fingernails dragging along wood. Buddy paced, whining. I held onto his collar. And then, the smell hit me. Rot. Thick and heavy, seeping from under the door. The voice returned. Not soft this time, louder, insistent. "Let him in. He wants to play." I backed away, pulled Buddy with me. Something slammed against the door. Hard. Buddy barked wildly. The door rattled. The hinges groaned. Another slam, and another. I called the Parkers. No answer. The pounding grew frantic. Then, it stopped. Silence. I didn't move, didn't breathe. And then, a new sound. Something breathing. Right against the other side. Slow, wet. I stayed up all night. Sat in the living room with every light on. Buddy finally lay down beside me. At dawn, I checked the hallway. The smell was gone. But the door. The wood was cracked. The lock barely hanging on. When the Parkers came home, I told them everything. Mr. Parker just stared at me. Mrs. Parker put her hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "Never open it. Not for us, not for anyone." That night, back in my own bed, I woke to a sound. A faint tapping, coming from somewhere in my house.